Should you buy Arma? So Arma 3 has been out for 3 years now. It is safe to say that whilst it may receive some smaller updates and bug fixes, it has now reached the end of its significant development. With the release of Apex and Tanoa, we have really seen Arma pushing the limits of its real virtuality engine, and reach a point where it can go no further. I think with Arma settling down, it's a good time to ask the question, is it really worth the buy? Personally, I've been a big fan of Arma games all the way from 2008 when I first purchased the game. Now I understand that you would like an honest and unbiased review, and so I'm going to push away any sort of affection that I have for the game temporarily and lay out some facts. Arma is not everyone's cup of tea, and so what is important is to figure out if Arma is right for you. I will lay out some of the pros and cons of the game, as well as answering some of the perhaps more pressing questions, such as should we just wait for Arma 4? Or can my computer run this? As well as explaining some of the common misconceptions about Arma, for example, people thinking that you need a NASA computer to run the game, which is simply not true. So let's get right into this. Time and dedication. I think the first and most important thing to mention is that Arma requires time and dedication. If you're a casual gamer with only 10 minutes a day to spend, this is not the game for you. You'll be looking at anywhere between 30-minute and 12-hour sessions on this game, depending upon what game mode, what mission, what server you are playing, or, well, just how dedicated you are. This should not put you off though. Game modes such as King of the Hill, where 3 teams fight for a single central objective, will provide plenty of entertainment within just a few minutes of launching the game. Many popular Arma 3 game modes such as Exile, Life or Wasteland will often have you playing for at least an hour, and in most cases around 2 to 3 hours, maybe even more, before you call it quits. For those looking for a more milsim experience, you can expect a slightly shorter gaming session, often within 1 to 2 hours, at least in my experience. The learning curve. Outright, Arma is not an easy game to learn. It has complicated controls and somewhat quirky mechanics. Once you learn it though, you can be rewarded with some of the richest and the most immersive experiences any video game can offer you. The excessive controls and abilities in this game reward you with freedom unlike any other. The initial learning curve is steep, as you can see here, and you'll spend a good few hours learning and getting over the controls. However, once you overcome the very basics, you'll find the learning curve tapers off very quickly into a smooth and gradual ascent into the mastery of the game. The beauty of Arma here is that a newbie with maybe even 50 hours could outplay someone with 1,000 hours. The skill gap between experienced players and newbies is minimal as compared to other games. However, there are some players who will just outright destroy you every time, but this is more regardless of your time, but based off of your mentality in the game. Whether you're a smart, fast-thinking player, or a sluggish and stupid player, experience in the game is only an aid to this. Can you afford this? Many people think you need a NASA computer to be able to play Arma. The amount of times I see YouTube comments such as, "I wish my potato could run this," is crazy. In reality, you don't need much more than an i5 and around 4GB of RAM. One important thing to know though, is that Arma hogs your CPU like crazy, and with its poor multi-core support, a high clock speed on both your CPU and RAM is important. Not to say though that you wouldn't do well with no overclocking. You'll do just fine, but it would just be silly not to really. If you have the power there, you might as well use it. Getting good FPS on the game is mainly down to your settings and clock speed, and contrary to popular belief, a lower end PC can indeed get decent frames on Arma 3, purely through good settings and optimization. And as trivial as this sounds, can you afford the game? To have an enjoyable experience, you must purchase all of the expansions. Yeah, I know, it's expensive, but once you have them all, then you're going to have a much better experience in the game. If you purchase the Apex edition of Arma outright, you can get all of this for currently £44.99 British pounds, or you can individually buy each expansion and the game for £72.15, again British pounds. Should I just wait till Arma 4? Nothing has been officially announced about Arma 4 at the time of this video. And with the news that a new roadmap is coming out for Arma 3, we can honestly expect at least another year of minor updates and development, and given that Arma 3 has pushed its real virtuality engine to its limits, we can expect a brand new engine for Arma 4. This will take time, just looking at the DayZ engine that took 2 years to create, and this is only a modification of the existing engine. So looking at the history of Arma games now, we can see Arma Armed Assault was released 3 years before Arma 2 4 years before Arma 3, but with constant expansions throughout, Operation Arrowhead for example. So we can assume that Arma 3 was in production whilst Arma 2 expansions were being released, and based off of that we can assume that Arma 4 is currently in production. With a complete engine revamp though, we can expect to see a delay on the previous games. So we can expect to see Arma 4 being talked about no earlier than the first half of 2017, and probably not released until early 2018. These are quite rough estimates though, but they should be somewhat accurate, but don't hold me to that. So there is still plenty of longevity within Arma 3. The conclusion. So to conclude, I think Arma has the potential to be one of the most fun games with the most longevity out there. However, there are several factors, as we just discussed, that can greatly impact the amount of fun you have on this game. Most notably, do you have friends to play with, or are you willing to find some? Now I think this is the first time I've actually mentioned this in this video, but this game can be really boring to play by yourself. I know some people who do it, and they enjoy it, but from my personal experience, I always have less fun by myself on this game. Are you willing to dedicate time and effort to learn the complex controls and game mechanics? Can you actually run and afford the game? Weigh up these factors, remember that this game can be fantastic. People would not put up with the quirks and arguably low FPS of Arma if it was not fantastic. So I really hope this helped you out, and I hope to see you playing Arma soon. Have a great day, don't forget to subscribe and like, because seriously, it helps me a lot.